Hey everyone, it's Miss JC. Hope you all are doing well. This is going to be the first set of notes for our digital learning starting today, Monday, March 23rd. So I have two slides here that I'll be going over. I know we're starting a new unit, the geometry unit. And so we're going to start with a little bit of notes. I'll walk through this note sheet right here and then some examples, and then there will be a practice sheet for you to apply what it is that you've learned here. So moving forward, the first thing we want to do is a little bit of review and maybe a couple new things. So we're going to start with our topic of naming points and lines and planes. So as you can see, most of you know a point obviously is just a dot right here. And so a point is a location. It has no size or shape. You always use a capital letter to name a point. So these things like this right here are important to remember when we start practicing naming shapes. Naming points, naming lines, planes, and etc. So when you name a point, it's important that you use a capital letter. So for example here, obviously this point is called point and then capital A for point A. So if we were to look at this example, point Y would be a point or point X would be a point. So if we move on, line is our next vocabulary word. A line is made up of points, and any 2 points form a line. It could be more than 2, but you have to have at least 2 points to create a line. So we have point X and point Y. Those together create this line. A line has no thickness or width, and you're going to name a line by any 2 points on that line or a lowercase script letter. So for example here, we know, I'm just going to highlight this. This is how you name a line. It's going to be important. And these are the examples of the different ways that you can name a line. You can name it just by the script letter that it shows. So in this example, the script letter outside of the example is this N right here. So this is called line N. You could also call this line using any 2 points on that line. So it has to be on that line. So this point Z right here, you can't use this because it doesn't fall on line N. So if we wanted to name this line something different, we could name it line XY because both points X and Y are on this line. You could also write it in this way with X and Y and a line above it to represent that line. Now, collinear points is another vocabulary word that's important. Collinear points are points that lie on the same line. So collinear, points that lie on the same line. Non-collinear are points that do not lie on the same line. So as an example here that you see, X, Y, and Z are non-collinear because all 3 of them do not lie on this line. 2 collinear points, so 2 points that do lie on the same line would be X and Y. So these 2 are going to be very important vocabulary words moving forward as well. So you want to take note of both, let's see here, both this one and this one, aside from our obvious ones that we're talking about on the left. Okay, so moving forward, we see a plane. A plane is a flat surface made up of points. Any 3 points can make up a plane. So if you have 2 points, you need 1 more in order to make it a plane. A plane extends indefinitely in all directions. So even though it only looks like this shape right here, it actually is indefinitely moving on in all directions. Name a plane by any 3 non-collinear points. So in order to name this plane, you could use it by the uppercase script letter that you see. So this P right here, there's no point with it. So this P is indicating the name of this plane. So this is called plane P. Or you can name this plane by using 3 non-collinear points. And if you forget what non-collinear points are, here's the definition right back up here. So non-collinear, points that do not lie on the same line. So 3 points on this that do not lie on the same line would be K, J, and L. And it doesn't matter the order in which you put those. So plane K, J, and L, you can name it like that, or just plane P. And then lastly, we have intersecting lines and planes. So as you can see here, this is a line, R, and line S. So these two letters right here that are lowercase, they represent the name of the lines. This P is the name of this point, and two lines intersect at a point. So this is information that's good to remember as well. When you have two lines and they cross, they make a point. When you have two planes and they cross, so you can see this plane going up and down, it's kind of three-dimensional. And then you see this other one that's kind of laying flat. When these two planes cross, they cross at this line. And this line here is called line K. So when two planes intersect, they intersect at a line. Okay, now that we went over some vocabulary and some notes, you can always go back to this note sheet. It's another link that's listed in that assignment sheet. So you can actually open it up so you can look at those notes or the ones that you've written down in your own notepad. So some of these vocabulary words are going to be applied right away. So for the first question, it says use the diagram to the right to name the following. So we have a picture over here. The first question is asking us to name 4 collinear points. Remember, collinear means points on the same line. So if we're looking for points on the same line, we need 4 of them. So it's important to find 4. So we can look over here and we can see a couple different lines. We see this line right here, line P, but there's only 1, 2, 3 points on this line. We see Q, line Q, but there's only 1, 2, 3 points on this one. So let's look at the last line. We see line R right here. And I do see 4. There's point H, N, K, and L. So here are my 4 collinear points, points that line on the same line. So I'm going to go ahead and write H, N, K, L. Those are my 4 collinear points. B says a line that contains point M. So I'm going to look for point M. And I see point M is right here, so I need to find the line that contains this. So if I'm looking at this line, the name of this line, remember, is the letter that's lowercase in script off to the side. So this is called line P. So line P contains M. So I'm going to go ahead and write line P. C says a line that contains points H and K. So going back over here looking for H, points H and point K. So point H right here. So I'm going to go ahead and mark that. Here's point H, and then this says point K. So here are my 2 points, and it's asking for, it's important to remember what it's asking for. So it says I want a line. So which line has point H and point K on it? And I remember that this is the name of the line, so this is line R. Next, this is another name for line Q. Remember, when we name lines, we can either name it by the letter, like we just did with line R, or we can use 2 points that are on that line. So if we look at line Q, so over here, here's Q, here's the line that Q is on. We just need 2 points that fall on this line in order to give it another name. So I could say line JK, I could say line JL, or I could say line KL. So I'll go ahead and write all 3 of those. And when you write each one, I'm going ahead and do my best here. You want to put a little line above it with arrows on both sides. So I'll give you a better view up here. K, let's make sure we're not moving this. So KL, and then you put a line with 2 arrows on top. So that's what these 3 look like here, or should look like. Okay, so moving forward, the next question says the intersection, so intersection of these 2 lines, and from my notes I remember that when 2 lines intersect, they make a point. So line P, here's my line P, and line R I already have in red. So if I look at where these 2 lines intersect, I notice that they intersect at this point, and that's point N. So I'm going to go ahead and write point N, or remember we can just name this with a capital N. Okay, keeping it moving, the next question says use the diagram again. So we have a new diagram, and in this diagram, what I notice already is I notice a lot of points. I notice a plane here with this shape that represents a plane. So I'm going to keep that in mind in answering these questions. So first one says a line containing point F. I know I need to find point F. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight point F. And I need to find the line that contains it. So if I go back to point F and I find this line, the name of this line I see is this little J over here. So for this next one, it's line J. I'm going to do a better job of writing that. So I'm going to write that again. Line J. Okay, great. Bear with me, everyone. All right, the next one. We'll get better with time. The next one says another name for line K. So go ahead and I need to find line K. And I see here's the K. So this is the line. And another way to write the name of a line is using two of the points on here. So I'm going to go ahead and obviously there's more than one answer. But I'm just going to use this point B and E to name this line. So I can go ahead and name this line BE. And put that arrow on top, the line on top with the two arrows. Okay, next I need to find a plane containing point A. So if I go and find point A, here's point A. The plane that this point is on is this capital M. Remember, to name a plane, I know that it has a capital letter that's scripted. So this is going to be plane M. Gotta work on my E's. Okay, next, an example of three non-collinear. So this is a new vocabulary word for some of you. Non-collinear, not on the same line. So I need to go ahead and look over here and find 3 points that are not on the same line. So if I said D, E, F, I couldn't use those because those are collinear. They all lie on the same line. But I see A over here by itself, so I could say A, B, and E. I could say A, B, and D. So there's a lot of examples here. So one example of 3 points that are not on the same line, I'm going to go ahead and write A, B, and D. So if we take a look again, here's point A, B, and D. I know those are non-collinear because they don't fall on the same line. Okay, and then lastly, it's asking for the intersection of plane M and line K. So if I'm going to go and find line K. Here's K, so here's my line. And then plane M is this shape that you see. I'll go ahead and highlight it. So this is plane M. So let's see if I can highlight this again. Okay, I don't know if I'm going to be able to highlight that red back over it, but there we go. So here's my line, and it's asking where it's intersecting. This plane and this line is intersecting at this point. And that's point E. I'm going to go ahead and erase this red just because I'm a little particular. I'm going to write it in blue so we can try to make this a little neat, or try my best. Okay, moving forward. So next question. Remember, pause this at any time you have a question or got lost, and go back and listen to how I explained it, and maybe take a look at your notes so that you can review those vocabulary words. All right, so moving on, the next question says I need to find 3 coplanar points. Coplanar are points that are on the same plane, coplanar. So 3 points that are on the same plane. Over here, I recognize a 3D shape now, so there's multiple planes involved. And then I see this R, which is this plane R. So 3 points that are on the same plane. I'm going to go ahead and show you, let's see here, V. Here's V. Y and X are all 3 points that are on this plane R. So those are 3 coplanar points, V, Y, and X. Okay, next it says a plane containing point X. Well, the plane that has point X is this plane R right here. So it's this bottom plane that has point X. So I'm going to go ahead and write plane R. Okay, next it's asking for the intersection of plane R. So remember that's our bottom plane to this shape. And then the plane that has these 3 points. So we need to find those 3 points over here. So I'm going to try to highlight so that we can see this. So plane, the bottom plane is plane R. And if we're looking for the plane that has Z, V, Y is, let's see if I can get this. That's too big, so let me try it again. Is this left side of this pyramid. I'm just going to try to make this smaller and see if this works. Okay, here we go. So this plane, so this side over here. So where does the yellow plane and this red plane intersect? And if you can see, it intersects at line VY. So this is where it intersects. So I'm going to do V. Y, and I'm going to put that line over top. So that's where both of those planes, and I remember from my notes, when 2 planes intersect, they intersect at a line. Next it says how many planes appear in this figure. So you have to think that there's a plane on the bottom. If you see the bottom of the shape, there's a plane on this left side. There's a plane on the right side with these 3 points. There's a plane in the back of the shape and then also in the front. So all 4 sides of the shape and on the bottom. So that makes 5 planes. And then how many planes contain point W? So we'll have to go and we have to see where point W is. Let's see. So point W is right here. So how many planes contain point W? Well, the bottom plane, plane R, has this point. This right plane contains W. This left plane contains W. And I think that's it. So this front plane right here, the right one has W, and then the bottom. So that's 3 planes that contain point W. And then lastly, last question here, some more examples. Hopefully when you're looking at this example, you're noticing some things. The first thing that I notice when I'm looking at this is I notice that there are 2 planes. I see a line going through both of them, and then I see another line that's only going through this plane. I recognize some points on each one, and I recognize that this plane is called plane P, and this plane is called plane Q. So the first question says the intersections of line L and M. So the first thing I know I need to do is I need to find line L. So if I'm looking for L, and I see L here, so this is line L. And then I'm looking for line M, which I see the little M there, so this is line M. And I see that they intersect at this point, which is labeled E. So they intersect at point E. And I just labeled that with a capital letter. And then question B says another name for plane Q. Remember when we name planes, we could also name them with 3 non-collinear points on that plane. So if I'm looking at plane Q, which is over here, I just need to find 3 points, and we can call it plane, and then list the 3 points that are non-collinear. So I see these 3 are on the same line in this plane, so those are called collinear, but I need to get a point that's not on this line if I want to use it to name it. So I see I over here, so I'm going to use I, and then I can go ahead and use F and G to finish naming that plane, as long as I have 1 point that's not on that line. Are points D and E collinear or coplanar? So remember, collinear, you kind of see the word line in there, and coplanar, you see the root word plane. So points D and E, so I need to go find D and E. And over here I see Here's D and E. And I know that these two look like they're on this line, which they are, but they're on two different planes. So they are not coplanar, but since they fall on the same line, line L, I know that they are collinear. And then last question, how many times do planes P and Q intersect? Well, I see the plane P over here and I see plane Q over here, and although the line crosses through both of them, I see that these two planes never intersect each other, so I know that they don't intersect at all, so that's a zero times. Okay, so a lot of different examples. Make sure you look over the notes and go back to the first slide with some of those vocabulary words, and then go ahead and use these examples to practice on the practice document listed in the assignment sheet. And make sure you reach out if you have any questions, and sign up for office hours by making sure you are ready to join the link when it's posted. All right, talk to everyone soon. You got this.